Well, okay, I'm back. She, it's very hard for me. So March and April are two very difficult months for me. Plus, March is first is our anniversary, which we've been married 35 years, and we've been together, a few years prior to that. And this, we're in a different place now, and I really don't know how to be here. I don't know how to be without all my noise in the house and the kids running and people needing me. And I'm having to face all the pain and I'm having to face the losses now, because I had to hold it together for so long that I didn't deal with it like, I probably would have under a different circumstance. I had 5 little boys looking at me, and I had to keep it together. And when I got out of the truck that day from the hospital, I was losing it all the way home. I didn't want to leave her, but the second I pulled in the driveway, and I had to just suck it up, come on in here, and destroy these 2 little boys' lives, and try to just take it from there. So I kept myself together, and I have for years now. And this is a place that I don't know how to be in. I do want to tell you all thank you so much, because you have helped me so much. You've been there when I felt so alone. Last night, someone that I've met online talked to me for hours, and it was nice that someone that doesn't really know me took the time to just check on me, for one, and just to listen. I didn't have to put on a pretense or anything, and that's kind of nice to not have to be strong all the time, because I'm not strong. I'm very, very weak. But, and you all know I don't like to I don't like talk when I'm in this kind of place, so I'm going to do this one time, and then I'm not going to do this. No, this is it for me. I'm not going to say no more about it. But so y'all just bear with me while I decide, and the ones of you that think I'm just being petty or picking on her, or you just don't understand everything, and I'm not going to try to explain it to you or prove it to you or anything, because I just don't think you'll ever see what you won't see. If you don't see already, you never will. And I don't like that. I truly don't. It bothers me. But I've got to learn to just basically let that go. That's a whole lot easier to let go than it is to let go of everything else that I have on me, right, in my heart. As far as Mary being related to me, really, she's not. She is one of a kind. There is no relation there. I could never, ever forgive her for the things that she said. I'm very careful with I speak, because I don't want to mislead anyone. So I've always showed you what I had and why I say what I say, because it's important to me. And I wondered why it was so important to me. I've been evaluating myself. And I think, and it really upsets me, because the way she talks about our family, my mother, it's upsetting, because, as I said to that sweet person last night, my mother went through a lot of abuse in her childhood. She left home, and when she did, she took her siblings with her, and she raised them, and she just was amazing, and I, growing up with her, it wasn't what she said, it was the things that she done. She didn't cry, she didn't carry on, she didn't tell us how lucky we were, to have such a parent as such as her. She was learning just as we were, because she didn't have that, the upbringing that a lot of people have, and So she did the best she could. And there was times in my life I remember thinking, like, I couldn't understand her sometimes. Like, how could she, like I said, we all knew the story, how we knew. I can't really tell you. I don't really recall. But the thing that got me the most is my mother, very mild spoken, very sweet Southern woman. She took care of her mother and her father, who was just one of the most evilest people I've ever encountered in my life, besides his great granddaughter, Miss Mary. She has took the cake. Is she never did nothing like you hear ever. She was there on the day he died by his bed, and when he asked for forgiveness, she gave it to him. She gave she paid for the services she did. She gave him a respectable funeral. She never ever grumbled or oh, poor pitiful me. And the same with her mother. See, and I was resentful. I hated my grandfather. I was very resentful of my grandmother growing up because, see, I knew the truth. And all I could think of, now me, I'm a child now, but I see my mother just protect us every way that she possibly could. And I'm like, why didn't that woman protect her? Why didn't she do what she, I, in my little kid mind, what she should have done? And I never got an answer for that, never will. But my mom, it was the way she did things, and it took me a long time to really see the truth and to understand. But now, I find myself, I respect my mother even more, and to hear someone degrade her or lessen her, it's a crime to me. It is a crime to me because I think of all the strength that she has given us by her actions. And that's going to make sense to some, but just those others, they'll never understand this. I think how I am the way I am, not so much as what I was told. I am the way I am because of what I saw. And yesterday and today, when I got up, I kind of went over some books I have that talk about a lot of the history in our family. Like the founding fathers of Cades Cove is an example I was reading. I went and read it again, and then in Brazelton here, it were mentioned in their book. Now that's not quite so favorable, but nevertheless, I think my parents raised, they showed us, they had pride in everything they did. They had pride in their service for my father's service in his country. He had pride for this country. He loved this country. My mother took pride in everything she did. When she left the house, she made clothes, she did whatever she had to do. She was clean. She was well put together, and so were her children. When we behaved proper, because if we didn't, she took us to where we were going, and she probably would just whip our tail and then take us back, and we could figure out how to act right by then. But she led by example, and we had pride. We didn't ask no one for anything. Whatever we had, and we did it together, and no one grumbled. You might have went to bed a little hungry, but you didn't hear nobody complaining. Because I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I want you to think about yourself for a second. Think, if you had a mother like I had, and you had a father like I had, and you were just complaining, you were just wanting to whine and cry about how just not getting quite enough to eat, but you had food. Okay, you're not going to die. You got food. None of us ever did that, and I know why now. I mean, how silly would we have looked when we knew what our parents had been through? How silly and ungrateful and just ridiculous it would have been for us to have been complaining. So, I don't like it. I think it's disrespectful. To me, it's just a slap in everyone that came before me. I think of myself as beginning with my mother. My family's history begins with my mother because she created what she could out of what she knew, and she made what she did incredible. And she gave me enough that I was able to pass that on. And my daughter gave her two boys even better. And I'm proud of that. And I was always proud to share their memories, and the things that they taught. And I had hoped that my children and grandchildren and so forth will take some of those good things and make their lives better, which will just keep us improving. We won't ever go back to that dark place that they came from. But then people like that one destroy, they burn down, destroy the reputations and everything that everybody worked so hard to achieve. Just the fact that she refuses to work is just to me it's an abomination, because it's a slap. It's something no one would even think about. And she had the benefit of my mother. She didn't know my father. He died a year before her and my son were born. But just to have been with and seeing how my mom was, to me it's awful what she's doing, and it's awful what she's destroying. And I think sometimes maybe I have enough out there that it will follow, because I do not want any of my grandchildren ever, especially the ones that no longer have their mother, to want to refresh their memories on things and find that channel and only hear that garbage, because over time your memories, you pick, there's a lot of things you'll remember, a lot of things you may not. And I don't want them to only have that voice of ugliness to fulfill those spots. I want them to hear the truth. The things, I don't believe in harping on the bad things, or I would have been. It's just not what you do. It's just not what you do. My life wasn't perfect, but it was enough. And it was enough that, and I still today hate it when I get upset, because I think, how could I be upset about things? But I didn't want them to only hear that garbage. And I guess what really struck me was someone, I think they go by Sunshine. It was just, not that she was being exceptionally ugly or anything. Fresh Start's got the market on that one. But I just thought, why are they like this? And then I thought, nowadays, there's just not the history anymore. It's not important to anyone anymore. No one really cares where they come from, or who the people were before them, or what they did to give you what you have at the moment. And if you have nothing, well, that's because you're lazy. You're just lazy. You had something, and you can have something, and you can make it even bigger than you have. You can make it as big as you want. I don't understand that mindset, but maybe it's my generation. I feel sad for these kids today, these young, even a little bit younger than Mary, who don't have the benefit of talking to people who went through the Depression, and talking to these guys who come home from the war, that were lucky enough to come home, the ones that tell stories of the guy next to him being just dying. These guys were out there at 16, 17, 18 years old. And you look around today, and 16, 17, and 18-year-olds can't even pull up their pants or tie the shoes. They don't have the benefit of hearing these stories and knowing about real sacrifice. No one wants their kids to go through sacrifice. That's why you tell them the things that they need to hear, so that they at least can understand and maybe reflect on it one day and appreciate something. But that's not happening anymore. And that was why, you know, I get really aggravated, and I probably lash out probably a whole lot more than I probably ever would at anyone. I don't talk to people that way. You really, I can honestly say there's only been maybe two other people in my whole life that I have ever truly hated. Because hate is a powerful word. There is no forgiveness with hate, and that's something I'll deal with one day. But right now, that's where it is. And that's the way I am. And it comes from a long line of people who just plowed through and didn't. But I hate seeing it destroyed by one dark, pathetic, non-human being that has a voice that won't she'll just scream over everybody. So that's where I'm at. But I do got to tell y'all thank you. I love you, and I truly do, from the bottom of my heart. I wish you all had perfect lives, but I know you don't. And that to me, when I start to get upset about things, I do think about some of the things I've heard, and I marvel at how you overcome and how y'all. I don't know. It tells me, that I'm not special. It's not my turn. It's not my day. Um, but just to know I think about you, and I'll be back, and I'll be watching and listening, and I'll still make a video. She really gets me too much, or if I come across something really interesting, and in the beginning of June, all I'm going to ask you to do is please just know what I've been thinking about lately. I want to get this stopped. I want that voice to not be heard, on public platforms anymore. And what's coming up could possibly really help. So I'm not going to do anything to make it happen, nor am I going to do anything to stop it. So let's just see what happens, okay? But just know that, just think positive, if you wouldn't mind. So I'll talk to you all later. Good night. Well, I'm going to try to finish this drawer, and then I'm going to try to go take a shower and get something to eat. But I'll see y'all later.